Hi, I'm Joseph Crudup, and welcome to my storybook. Today, the part 7 of this book called TDJs Before You Do. This is the part 7 of this book. Chapter 7. Before you place your order, the love order. Before you place love order. Love is the love is like the mirrorless. The older you get it, the worse the attack. Long before eBay, Overstock.com, Amazon, or Yahoo, or any other sources in-game, shopping in Ultra, or online retailer, there was only one best-selling way to place low order. I'm talking about the good old days prior to SNHSN, QVC, or any other multiple options that eliminated the mall shopping experiences from the comfort of your home. Back in the day, the only malls were the mail orders replaced from the JC Penney and Spangler catalogs. My grandmother and yours lived with better breath and deep anticipations as they wanted for those colorful catalog pages to come to life as delivered by their neighborhood postman. It didn't matter where you lived in the town, in the cities, or on some back wall with only a P.O. box at the country store. You stood depending on your mail ordering catalogs. Such commerce was a huge convenience to those who lived in the most rural areas. But even on board, the railroads and their cities relied on them got to get what they needed. In our high tech age of point and click shopping, identifying depth and spirit, it's difficult to appreciate the days of the catalog ordering system. Yet for many decades, it was our primary way of finding what we wanted in the size we needed without leaving our homes. Through this method, our families choose everything from wedding gowns to cutlery, from salt to underwater. During the first half of the 20th century, Sears and Sears and other retailers of the fair mail order kit for houses. In our age of the methodology offering from which a customer can select personalities options, we should remember the limit options from which we came. Poor generations had to select the details of their orders by looking at flat, one dimensional pictures, consequences. It was always a matter of fate when ordering from a catalog. To be sure, the pictures we invited and the print descriptions are as detailed as possible. Still, sometimes you receive what you order, but now what you wanted. Mail order catalogs. In the same way, a picture doesn't tell you how a photograph feels or wells, how rich or molten a color can be, or whose size thrill we're talking about. Dating doesn't always tell you what it will be like to be married. A resume doesn't tell you what importantly what epic is like. A Facebook profile doesn't tell you how someone really looks, let alone how they will treat you after the first date is over. A real estate website won't show you the leaking pipes and the cracks in the ceiling in a home. Some details simply cannot be essentially until you experience the fullness of the situation. He may look perfect for his profile online. He might seem like low soulmate because of the incredibly compatibility determined by Lord 29 personality tests, online dating sites, and community chat rooms had given a whole new dimension to mail order. However, there is no statistics for the real day. In fact, I have found that many people are excited dates. They are so extremely proficient at dating that they are almost professionals. They know how to impress you really well for a night, a concert, or a weekend trip. But that doesn't mean that what you saw in the catalog is what you get in the mail. How to choose someone today. If you are currently dating, discriminating who you like to go out will sure be an absolute choice. While physical attraction and appearances is likely the first thing we know, looks soon fade. You want to choose someone who has other, less obvious attitudes that go much further towards potentially contributing to a strong, lasting relationship. When you first meet someone, consider their manners, how they treat the rest stuff, what type of interest they have, if they share your spiritual beliefs, if they show interest in what you have to say. This will all go a long way in determining what kind of person they really are. I always note how people treat those they are not trying to impress. Once the newness of the internet attraction wears off, there must be something more to sustain a bond or the relationship is doomed. Also, make sure you are the cause of the choosing and not the choose. Think about what you really want. It is a common mistake, especially among some women, to compare the new better to the last one and never really consider the person in his own light or in light of your wants. In other words, you may find John to be considerate where John was selfish and rude. So you make the mistake of thinking that John is better and he's the one. But then John is lazy and unfocused. So you break off with John and meet Al. Al is considerate and ambitious, so you think, ah, Nevada. Al's the one. The mistake here is comparing John to Joe and Al to John, rather than comparing them to devotion you have for what you want from a relationship partner. Focus on the bigger picture and you will have better chance of meeting someone who is more fully like what you want in a partner. I can remember considering a gentleman and his wife. He was deeply frustrated by his attempt to get her to be who she was when they were dating. In reality, he dated her when he was still involved with someone else. Okay? I was just saying, he started seeing her as the other woman while he was still married. They only had 3 starting hours, which they spent developing each other emotionally, sexually, and intentionally. Their affair inhabited their shared senses. And if it was highlighted by the king escalator, but tasting the sweet nectar of the forbidden fruit. She was his love goddess, and he was her stud muffin. They were sure they knew all that there was to know about each other at first. They keep on going until his marriage totally disappeared, and he had his standards meaning this situation all to herself. That morning was the last he saw of the Teddy and Nicolette or the Greta Bell. Instead, he was in undoubtedly with flannel pajamas, wet stocking in the shower, and a bill of bills he knew nothing about. Gone with the hot baths, the cellular towers, and the climbing wine glasses. Instead, He was walking out to the cover of full buy one get one free sausage muffin at McDonald's that he kissed next on their way to work. When they were dating, she has reserved time for him, only show herself with her hair done, put business on hold to be with him. But now that they were married, he had to try and fit her life into his, and it felt like Cinderella's stepsisters. Cinderella's stepsisters. Sister, cramming her foot into the glass slipper. Not what he ordered in the car lot. It was it? You see, sometimes you get who you want, but you don't get it how you really wanted it. He told me angrily. I've been I've been hook ringing. She betrayed me. There's no real passion here, no sense of masculinity and integrity. She's not creative or romantic at all. She reminds me of my old wife. He didn't know how he had fell in love with the feeling of an affair, but he had brought into a marriage. The two are not the same, and they will never be. Stress fracture with quaint relationship. In the committed relationship, there are always seasons of change. You are closer at certain times than others, as the circumstances of the life ebb and flow. Yet, if you did Lord do deliberately at the onset, were clear about what you want in a partner, and understand essentially who that person is, what will keep you and strong going forward is recalling what brought the two of you together in the first place. What you enjoyed and admired about that person internally probably hasn't changed. For the relationship to continue to evolve, you must work to grow closer. If you feel the relationship is not what it was, it could just be that it is evolving into something different. Or it could be that you must renew your commitment to keep it fresh and moving ahead. The fundamentals of your mate, if if they were truly there and in the beginning, unlikely to change. The basis of low relationship is what's important, and focus on that makes it much easier to go with the flow of the inevitable ups and downs of daily living. More than skin deep. Often this session scholarship with living trains us to representing our best sensitivities for the evening or two. It shows us what colonies are hot, how to get perfect abs in 4 weeks, how to lose weight for the summer, and what vacation spots are filled with atmosphere and successfully. This means much money making and sex and non-marketing marriage. And what we have given our attention to is what we are succeeded at becoming. We show men how to appear romantic, look interesting, and be great conversationalists. We come in women to indulge in witness, tightening the sacks, and look like a mobile for the least distant centers. Reading the advice on our faceless and tummy tucks, buttons, and verticals ought to make us appear longer, more viable, and more attractive. We don't teach the individual's popularity of life. We are not on a date. Living is not a staged event. This is our life, and who we share it will see us as we really are, not as we appear to be. She may be 60 and look like 30, but when you marry to her, you will still be married to a 60-year-old woman who thinks like, eats his life, and so will the process like the woman she is. not the one she projects. Consider how different dating is from marriage. Dating may show you how she holds a fork or what she likes to drink, but it doesn't tell you how they pay their bills or how they move in a crisis, like getting that person their favorite roles. Many people are better at dating than they are at marriage. They can even live with you and you still don't get the real impact of what it is like when you are locked down to the commitments of marriage and the versus and the advantages nurses of becoming a family unit. They know what to do make they know what to do to make you have a stunning evening with restaurants, what Bulwer shows, and how to be a great conversationalist for a few hours. But when one gets down to the business of marriage, with balance to the checkbook, who comes first, his mother or you, what matters most to her, the career or the children. Dating doesn't always show you what you get, what you marry. I cannot tell you how many people and man and consider who marry people who will professionally date but not marriage material. At first, awesome people want you as want is a person who can wear the handbook, but eventually you will need someone who can pay for the bed. Since baby boomers are living longer, the dating game isn't just for kids anymore. Just for men, hair color has taken away the gray. Shell politics had adjusted the back. Sellers had adjusted the lender, and now he is back in the game. She has her proclaiming teeth implants, her breasts lift, her tummy tucker, her lips inflated, and her lips done. We all look great. We're all out. We are all out there again, back in the game on with condoms and living corridors. The jet settlers from the jet settlers from all from every age and every stage. The no matter how many accessories, treatments, or connoisseurs months will use, it's not enough. We are dating again, but we are no longer intimate. We are having sex but losing love. Paul and Lon are shopping for love but sex selecting for lust. They place their orders for the costume made, combination package, but when it overerrors, it doesn't satisfy them. If you can remember what you really wanted, if you still long for subsistence more than style, I want to share a few considerations for getting what you ordered and likelihood what life delivers. We tell couples that they need to talk, but we forget to instruct them on how to listen, and not just how to listen to each other, but how to listen to yourself. Somewhere in the fine part of being dating and interested with someone, they want you even so likely that they were going to be acquitted way. The red flags were always there, even if they started out in a lovely shade of pink. You saw how to went into a race on the highway. You knew she was always late when you came to pick her up for dinner. He went into the picnic checking you know, every line item on the bill for the restaurant. For the restaurant, she fallen with the waiter and no one else. He looked away. All of this was forgotten in a soft embarrassment and must kiss that special someone. Like noise, but you didn't listen to the voice inside. And as Michelangelo says, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. most people don't listen before, during, and after the marriage. Believe me, before you order something, the fine print is what you must read to know if you can afford the payments. The fine print was readable at his family reunion when you saw his involvement and how his family interacts with each other, or does it? It was in the way his eye language on every woman walking down Fifth and Arrow. It was in every phone call she takes outside. What what that some woman is screaming at him outside the mall as you approach him for a little meeting. Didn't she look like she was pregnant when he asked who that was? He dismissed her as an economic person from work. You knew better, but you wouldn't listen, would you? One of my long press senators told me that she should have noticed what was going on when he started telling her what to wear on every day. And in a couple of months, he was telling her what to wear to school. All of this was persuaded him snitching at her at the high school football game, distracted by his joy in car. The long women made excuses for his controlling ways and escalated temper. He was warning her. He was warning her. He was a controller and not to be an abuser. But she wasn't listening. She didn't do it often enough to expose the real product she would be punching, posting, but it was there in a fine print. In which dresser, she said, Pastor, I can see it now. I wasn't looking for what didn't work. I was looking for what didn't work. His birthday was on the 10th, and guess what? Mine was too. His mother's middle name was Helen, and my grandmother's first name was Helen. His favorite brand was already on my iPod. We had so much in common, or did we? Isn't it funny how people often major on the Morton and the mile of the major? They seem blinding to the warning signs that could have confronted us in a bad choice. Those who had tolerant and deep eat to the warning missed the gliders issues that eventually leads to the dismissal or the deeper, more fulfilling relationship was desperation, desperate one in need. The glider issue was vulnerable with the person and the relationship, but it is often an issue of possessiveness, jealous, conflict, management, or communication that becomes insurmountable. This lone black this lone woman was standing there with bruising ribs and a black eye, telling me that she ended up with more than the average of her senior class. He was a prize athlete and a real looker. He had a car and he can dance like Emmett Smith. She won out over all the other girls. She got what she wanted, the dream outing in her catalog, but she didn't read the small print. And until the infernal rays around her, she failed to listen to the warning signs going off like a smoke alarm. You didn't. You said she did it because she was long. I say it happens to other her mother's age and her grandfather's age, and men too. She did it because she was so. She did it because she was deaf to the warning signs and blind to the fine print. There is no age limit on regret. It can happen to anyone who doesn't think before doing. The sign of hope. Some women ignore the signs not because she's deaf to them, but because she thinks she can change her parents. Her maternal instinct is misfound, and she thinks he needs babying in order to become a grown man. Not going to happen, Dale. If he had an issue before you meet him, you cannot assume the role of silver and trying to beat his reputation. Nor do you want to try out for the role of his mother. If you succeeded, the love life will be incestuous. If he, if he, if he marries you because you like his mother, then he'll cheat on you with his girlfriend because men never want to be married to their mothers. I had seen women take men on as a project. She wants to fix him, thinks she understands him, and then the one who tries to tell her otherwise is wrong. They just don't understand him the way she does. And men will change when he has the right woman. Won't he? Not likely, my dear. Their largely are changing after marriage is infinity. It comes from an unknowing God complex, where we start waiting to be someone's redeemer, but we are not. Nor can we ever be. God to someone else. Oh, no, that's not me, Bishop. I would never try to be God in his life. I hear you and I want you to understand where you desire to change him comes from. When you had needed to be needed, complex you allow that needed to influence your choice. Often the more people try to warn you, the less you listen to them. All they succeed in doing is to create a perfect storm. Their criticism just makes it perfect for you to feel that they really don't understand your choice. And it creates a perfect environment for the us against the war. Dynamite. How 1 minute is that? It's absolutely perfect. It's the stuff for cable TV movies and Helen moments. Forbidden the capital with a food He needs me, and there you have it totally different. This process happens when you even know that you have allowed the need to be redeemed in pause to take over your decisions making process. Once you're in the throes of the storm's aftermath, you have to figure out how did someone like me end up with someone like him. You had a hope to change him into what you want. The hope was fed by testimonials from people who had experienced massive shells through their marriage. But the difference is that the power to change must come from within the person, not from you. If others was saw a change in their response, it wasn't coming from their influences on their response. It came from within the person who changed. That person desires to change. When you're trying to change some response, it doesn't work. And eventually, even the hope for change makes you sick. Hope deferred making the heart sick. But when the desire comes, it is a true life. Proverbs 13 verse 12. Hope makes you ill when you keep waiting to see something change and it doesn't happen. You end up sick of waiting for something that isn't happening. Sick of involving mainly. Something that never realizing. Sick of making lame excuse for what is not working even as it becomes increasingly obviously obvious to those around you. It's not that your instrument isn't working properly. It's not that the warning signs weren't there. Those ones did not change overnight from Dr. Jackie to Mr. High. It's that we turn a deaf ear to the obstacles because we want to believe that we can change our odor into what we thought we were getting and not what we got. Science relationship decisions are not based on hope, not in that, not in the fact that people of faith often try to spiritual every issue. In the same of faith, we often dumb down our stances and ignore our sensitive. That is not having faith in God. Faith in God should be just that. Faith in God. We must not place our faith in man and woman. They will fail us. God gives us all. God gives all of us a will and that's a force to change. Force us to change. God give us the grace to change if if we so choose. Change must come from within each of us as we accept the grace of God repeatedly extended to each of us. Lead the salvation of people to God. It will help you. It will help you so much if we do not prevent the woman into the repentance. If the sacrificed wife sacrifices the husband, she does it by her life and not the whole world. If any of them do not believe the word, they may be won over without words by the behavior of their wives, where they seem the polarly and represents of low lies. 1 Peter 3 verse 1. Real hope sounds like actions speaking louder than words. You aren't looking for a son, a cause, or an accountability situation. You want a man who is a man, flawed but still a man. You want a lady who is a woman, imperfect but a lady just the same. When you place low order, you must read the fine print and pay attention to the product descriptions. But you committed to keeping it order that is not the right fat for you, not what you thought it was. You must make sure that you processes all the data and listen to low gut. You must not mistakenly look self for God in someone else's life. You must allow the Almighty to work in yours and to work in the other person's. When you really listen and thinking of things thought, you're much more likely to know what you're getting and enjoying keeping your order before you do. That's the end of this chapter 7 in this book, this part 7 in this book. Tomorrow we'll be reading chapter 8 of this part 8 in this book. It's called Before You Commit Resources. That's the end of this book. I'm Joseph Kerr. Let's do this again tomorrow.